Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's me, Greg Romero Wilson, your comedy superstar, unbeknownst to the rest of the world, your fantasy football enthusiast, your leader through the dark passages of the NFL season. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is Tuesday, September 26th, and you got to know I'm feeling good. Look at me, I'm wearing my Cowboys cap, got my Cowboys, America's team, baby, we're back. We are back. The Cowboys are back. If you watched Monday Night Football last night, you already know what I'm talking about. And you got to admit, Dak Prescott, Dak attack, what a man, totally bringing down the house, running for touchdowns, passing for touchdowns, diving for touchdowns. It was gorgeous. And of course, what did that do? Ezekiel Elliott got right back on track, started following the strong left side of that line, was finally cutting through those lanes, getting everything done. He was back. And let me tell you something. If there had been 10 more minutes in that game, Zeke would have broken off another one for a touchdown, I guarantee you. Thank God that didn't happen because I was playing against him in my league, and you'll be happy to know that your fearless leader, Greg Romero Wilson, otherwise known as the Midnight Cowboys, in 2 leagues, King Dong in another. He went 2-1 this week, 2-1 in his 3 leagues. The one team in my work league, my show league here at the show, that one, it's 0-3. So I have a team that's 2-1 in my Comedians League. I'm 1-2 in my League of Record, and then I am 0-3 in the league that I'm commissioning at the production. Funny you should ask. So and here's the thing about that 0-3 team. I can't. There's no one off the waiver wire that's going to save it. It's the team, David Johnson, and of course it was a huge, it was built around that guy. And him going out has been an absolutely huge loss for this team because the guy that I got in the second round, I believe, or third round was Marshawn Lynch, who I thought was going to have a better than expected year. And so far he's had a very, I knew he'd be on a pitch count, but I thought he would be more destructive than this. And they really aren't cutting him loose. They're really trying to pace him. And consequently, they're not doing very well. They looked absolutely terrible this week. I know I didn't expect him to get blown out like that. So versus Washington, I really thought they'd be. Instead, Washington came alive. Their defense destroyed the Raiders, made them look terrible. Amari Cooper, fucking dumpster fire, that guy. So there's a lot of things going wrong there, and because I have Derek Carr and Marshawn Lynch, as the Raiders go, so do I go, and so that hasn't worked out too great. And then I picked up Tariq Cohen, and luckily this week, although bad for me, because I have Jordan Howard in another league, because I counted on Jordan Howard to see him get back on track. He was the key to the Chicago Bears absolutely upsetting the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think you, like me, like most people, thought Pittsburgh was going to rock them real hard, and that is not what happened. But so there's so much to go over, so much happened. Really quickly, before we go any further, if you enjoy the show, if you're watching it on YouTube, or if you, which is really where it's available, or if you're listening to the podcast on SoundCloud, this weekend, which I believe is the 29th and 30th of September, I will be in Phoenix at the brand new Stir Crazy Comedy Club headlining there. That should be a lot of fun. It's a great new club. It's in the Westgate Shopping Center, which is where the Cardinals stadium is. I believe is it still called the University of Phoenix Stadium? But wherever that stadium is, that entertainment complex is all around it with all the restaurants and the bar. Right there, Stir Crazy Comedy Club above Whiskey Rose. 2 shows, Friday at 8:30, Saturday at 8:30. Please come out and see me. Check it out at stircrazycomedyclub.com. Or follow me on Twitter at The Greg Wilson. Remember, at The Greg Wilson, 2 things. Number 1, I have my Twitter campaign to get a Netflix special. So please go there, and it's the top pinned tweet on my profile. Just retweet it for me. That'd be awesome. Or you could quote tweet and, of course, add some whatever else you want to. And then there's... what else? Oh, and that's where I post my shows. And if you have any questions, if you have any fantasy football, dilemmas that you're in, start this guy, sit that guy, please hit me up on Twitter. I'd be happy to help you out. I've been answering a few questions so far, and it's been going pretty well. I've actually been the things that I've said have worked out for the guys that I said it to pretty well. So, but the main theme today, the first thing we're going to talk about is tight ends. Tight end, my kingdom for a tight end. I gotta tell you, I went all in on in the league that's 0-3. I have my best tight end, Delaney Walker, who's been the most at least consistent, but even he didn't really do that much. I think he had 3 receptions, 44 yards, 7 points on the board. It was not a big week for him. And the reality is, and and again, you gotta go with the eye test. And I really liked Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz was really catching the ball, but as I said earlier this season, I felt like he was a player of diminishing returns because I thought as Wentz got more in line on track with Alshon Jeffrey and with the other guy who's made absolutely no waves whatsoever over there, Torrey Smith. Is that right? Is that who it is? I think that's right. You know, and then Aguilar has seen the diminishing returns because Jeffrey is beginning to come online a little bit more, but it just looks like Zach Ertz. There's only 2 tight ends to have right now so far this season, and that is Rob Gronkowski and Zach Ertz. These are the only guys that you could count on week in, week out to deliver some points, to be actually involved in the game plan, and not to be someone that becomes part of the game plan because of the game flow, and it ends up, you know, they're covering the guys too much, and so they have to turn to the tight end. These are the only 2 guys, and I'm including Kelsey, I'm including Delaney Walker, Charles Clay, Jason Witten, Coby Fleener, all these guys, none of them, Evan Ingram, who everyone was so excited about, none of them seem to be a real consistent part of the offensive game plan. And normally Delaney Walker is, I mean, he is to an extent, but he hasn't been delivering. Those 2 guys are the only 2 guys to have. Let's just go down the row and see what everybody did. You know, Rob Gronkowski, we know he put up, let's see, he's got 8 receptions, 89 yards, touchdown, almost 19 points. That's what you want from the Gronk. Look at Ertz. Look at Ertz's numbers, and I love this consistency. First week, 13.3 points, 12.2 points, and 13.5 points. That is consistency, baby. That's what you want to see from a tight end. And then we go right to Jason Witten, who's the third. Look at this, 15 points, amazing start. Second week, 20 points. Oh my God, this week, 0.8. Not even a single fucking point. After everybody went and picked him up off the waiver wire, everyone got trying to get Jason Witten because, why? And I said this last week. I said, be careful because, that was because Zeke Elliott was getting shut down. He wasn't going to get shut down this week, and sure enough, he wasn't. And because of that, Jason Witten simply was not as necessary as he was in the previous game. Delaney Walker, now he's consistent in that they do target him. I mean, he had 6 targets, but he only caught 4 balls, 31 yards, 5 points, very disappointing. But I mean, he had 11, he had 14, at least he's involved. I mean, you can count on him to be involved, but so far not delivering. Charles Clay is another guy that I like to continue to be involved because of the youth that they have around them in the receiving corps. And, he put up 12.9, but so in 13, then 4, then 13, basically again. So, in terms of trajectory and consistency, I'm liking Charles Clay more than a lot of other people. Travis Kelce. Let's look at Travis Kelce. What have you done for me lately, Travis? Let's see what you got here. Travis Kelce, you're looking at 7 points, 22 points, 0.6 points. This is that kind of heart rate monitor fucking up and down shit that drives you crazy because you want to just play him every week with confidence, and you have to play him every week because he's a stud, but right now he is not showing the consistency that people, including myself, thought he was going to deliver this season. I really thought he was going to deliver. So far, not so much. So now looking at Coby Fleener, 13-10-2. Now, very uninvolved this week, even though they won 34-13, nothing going to Coby Fleener because finally Michael Thomas fucking erupted. And the second that they got him going, and they finally got Ted Ginn going, which, by the way, fuck you, Ted Ginn, you fucking cocksucker. So Coby Fleener wasn't needed as much. He didn't see anything. Let's talk about Jesse James. Remember those 2 touchdowns in week 1? 19 points. The next week, 4.7. The week after that, 2.9. Mercedes Lewis. Now, this guy was the big story of this week because what the fuck happened in London? Jesus fucking Christ. Now, here's the thing. Jacksonville, and we got to remember this. Jacksonville, they go every year to London. So they know what the jet lag is going to be like. They know how to schedule correctly for this, to prepare their players. Bears. And Baltimore had never been to London before, and I guess it showed. I haven't watched the game yet. I got to record it off the NFL Network at some point this week and check it out. But they must have, because that's the other thing. Baltimore was the #1 defense on daily fantasy this last weekend. I picked them up in one of my leagues. I played them instead of the Seattle Seahawks. So I played the Seahawks in one league. I played New England in another league versus Houston, and I played Baltimore. And I felt great, the best about Baltimore in my office league. And again, of course, that team, it's fucking cursed. -6 points. -6. They took points off the board. Jesus fucking Christ. And then, in Seattle, my backup on that team, my main defense that I wouldn't hide again, -4 points. And this is what's driving me crazy. Of the top tier defenses, #1 was Seattle. I believed in Seattle because the Legion of Boom was back. I felt like they had enough good guys on the line. I felt like they were going to get some things done. #1 rated, okay, right? And they've sucked. Kansas City, excellent. Denver, excellent. Arizona, at least passable. Minnesota, they've had 2 out of 3 very good games. Seattle, 3 fucking dogs in a row. They're costing me money. It's amazing. The years I don't draft Seattle, they're incredible. This is only the second time I've ever drafted them, and they're fucking me again. But I'm not going to let them go. I'm not going to let them go, and I'll tell you why. Because last time I let them go, and then they exploded. Because you have to remember, Seattle starts very slow. Once that offense starts going, this defense is going to be able to get a lot more done once they can actually catch their breath. Let's look at Austin Hooper. This is another tight end that everyone was so excited about after week 1, 21 points. Guess what he's done since then? 1.7, 1.4. Garbage. Now, here's a guy that I liked that I said was going to be coming on, Jared Cook. Sure enough, let's look at this. 8.0, 4.5, 12.3. So this is a guy, a little dip, and now he's starting. I like the trajectory on Jared Cook, but again, that was a week where Amari Cooper couldn't catch nothing. Crabtree couldn't catch nothing. Jared Cook became the outlet guy against what turned out to be a very difficult Washington defense. I don't know if anybody else picked the Washington defense. I know I didn't, but they wound up beating the hell out of the Raiders. And so in games like that, so he seems game flow dependent. That's what that's starting to look like. But it is a guy that I like to be more involved throughout the season. And finally, Ben Watson. If you picked up Ben Watson for the Ravens, he started out with a Blutarski 0.0, bumped it up with a 8 reception, 13-point performance. And then last week, 3 receptions, 1 touchdown. Hey, he's the one that scored the touchdown in that route. So, at least he put up 9 points. Maybe Ben Watson's a guy to keep an eye on. I like his trajectory. I like him being involved in that offense, especially since other than that, they have Jeremy Maclin and Mike Wallace. And Mike Wallace hasn't done nothing. But once he does, you might start seeing, Ben's, need come down. Let's look at Jack Doyle, another guy I really like season long. 5 points, 12 points, 0.6 points. Thanks, Doyle, who I actually played in one league, and not Martellus Bennett. And of course, Martellus Bennett is one of those guys that I was expecting to really, and again, I still think he can get on the radar here. If you remember the way that they used to play with Jermichael Finley, I feel like that's who Martellus Bennett was brought in to be. But if you look at his numbers, 5.8, 7.2, 2.7. So it's just, I don't know. I'm not. Put it, Eric Ebron. Let's look at Eric Ebron. He's another guy that they were like, oh, this is his season. 1.9, 12.7, 1.9. So it's tight end action is Kyle Rudolph, another one. Everyone, Kyle Rudolph, big season, Kyle Rudolph. 10 points, opening game, 6.5. Okay, not better than 0.9 points. Not even a point. So, it's in a game where had to sling the ball to come from behind versus Atlanta. So this is, the tight end position has got to be the single most vexing position in the league. And so that being the case, it might be time to start just thinking just about streaming guys. Vernon Davis, I like a lot because of the fact that Reed is already injured, so you can count on him to be in and out. He's not going to, just like every year, Jordan Reed cannot stay in there. But Vernon Davis, in his absence, looked really, really good. And he racked up 14 in that game against the Raiders. So, 5 receptions, 58 yards at TD. In the absence of Jordan Reed, I really do like Vernon Davis, but again, now he's hit and miss too because you don't know whether Jordan Reed's going to play. You got to monitor that situation all the way until you get to the until game time. So this is what's going on. Gerald Everett, everyone's talking about Gerald Everett out of LA. Let's see. He's the Rams guy, and he's put up 4, then 11, then a straight. He landed a straight up Blutarski 0.0. So, I mean, Zach Miller is another guy in Chicago. And this is a guy that I liked a lot last year. He seemed to be showing chemistry, but now 5.9, 7.2, 2.2, he's essentially useless. So what is going on with the tight end position? I can't tell you. I can't. If you didn't get Ertz or Gronk, obviously if you got Kelsey, you're playing Kelsey, but Kelsey has proven to be as inconsistent as everybody. And so even Delaney Walker, although I like at least Delaney, I know is involved in the game plan every single week. He's going to see some targets. But, I mean, boy, if you didn't get one of those, I win all in 2 leagues with Martellus Bennett, and so far it's bitten me in the ass. But I'm not giving up on Martellus. I've seen a lot of things there, and considering how everyone else is up and down, whoever you got to play them and hope for the best. Hopefully you built a consistent team around that position because you got to have one. But I remember last year, towards the end of the season, I was running a 2 tight end set on one of my teams because Tyler Eifert came back. I had Delaney Walker, Tyler Eifert. There's absolutely, I don't think, any situation where you want to be playing 2 tight ends with one in your flex position unless for some reason you have Gronk and Ertz. That would be the only way that I would play 2 tight ends with any confidence. Okay. So that's what's going on there. So let's look at some of the big stories. This tight end situation, I don't think there's any answer for it. I don't know what to tell you. It's just look at the matchup, look for matchups. But even matchup-based doesn't even seem to necessarily bode well for these tight ends. It's all game flow dependent with every single one of them right now. There's no one that any offensive coordinator, with the exception of Gronk and Ertz, that seems to be, Delaney Walker, none of the rest seem to be really involved in the game plan. Travis Kelce included, unfortunately, in that equation. Kelsey and Walker, I would say, are in the same position in terms of, they are planned for, they are in the game plan, but so far it hasn't been working out too well. The game flow's been ripping them right out. What the fuck happened in London? Let me tell you something. When I played I put in Buck Allen and I put in the Ravens defense and I went to sleep hoping to wake up like it was Christmas morning. Open that app and see a shiny 33 points. Instead, I saw 1.6. I'm like, what? I had 2 players. 1.6? What the fuck? And then to see, Buck Allen, fine, 7.6 in a flex position, not that bad. But to see that 6 of those points were taken away by a negative, I didn't even know a defense could get negative numbers. -6. 40 to 3 touchdowns to Mercedes Lewis. Let me tell you something. If you think Mercedes Lewis is going to have a 3 touchdown game again next week, you're fucking crazy. I would not go rushing off the waiver wire to grab him. But man, what the fuck? So let's bring me my first, by the way, that brings me my second fuck you, which I think may have already been the Baltimore defense, but fuck you, Baltimore. Jesus Christ. Next time, fly in earlier, get a nap, get adjusted. Jesus Christ, what the fuck happened? Bills versus Broncos. Trevor Siemian floated right back down to earth. I said, you don't need to be rushed out to get him on their waiver wire. Let's see what happens with him. Sure enough, floated back down to earth. Steeler Bears. What the fuck happened there? I think this is like when the Cowboys, went up there to play, who was it that they got just butt-fucked by? Was it Detroit? 2 weeks ago. I've already blocked it out of my mind. But that's the thing. They expected to win so easily that they wound up getting completely butt-fucked. The Bears defense, and kudos to the Bears, but also, fuck you, Bears. Finally, you put it. You know how many guys sat Jordan Howard because you guys fucking were so obsessed with Tariq Cohen during the first 2 games? And guess what happens when you get back to being who you are? You get back to running Jordan Howard, getting him going, getting in there, and guess what happened? You beat the goddamn Steelers. Fucking catch a clue, you fucking idiots. Okay. So, but we're back to Jordan Howard. Thank God. I'm ready. Let's play him. Let's roll with both these guys. But yes, Jordan Howard, number 1. Get him going. That's how you win games. All right. Saints and Panthers. Boy, woo. I was expecting a lot more from the Panthers because the Saints defense is supposedly awful. Supposedly it's terrible, but they seem to really have an easy time shutting down. I mean, even McCaffrey, McCaffrey did okay. He did. He put up some points. Thank God. He's back. But I was expecting a lot more from Jonathan Stewart. He didn't deliver. Kelvin Benjamin, he goes out, and then they're like, oh, it's not that bad, but, I don't know. If I were you, I'd look at Darren Funchess because this kind of injury, I don't know. I think Kelvin Benjamin might be pretty hobbled here for the next couple of weeks. I would definitely look at picking up, especially Greg Olsen being out. Darren Funchess, I think is a must-add right now because he might be the man. And when I say that, he might be the only man. But the Saints managed to, Michael Thomas finally showing up, finally showing what everybody was expecting him to be against a Panthers defense that was supposed to be very, very good. Breeze, lighten them up, always great at home. They did it 34-13, which does bring me to another fuck you to Ted Ginn Jr., you stupid piece of shit. I played you because I figured you would land one of these big ones, and of course, when I finally get rid of you, what do? You fucking do it. And that's the thing. If you play with me in one of my leagues, do yourself a favor. Pick up my scraps. It seems like anybody I let go, like I'm going to cut Chris Johnson this week, and I want to replace him, who was somebody else, I forgot who at the moment, but I guarantee you Chris Johnson will run for 200 yards this week because I'm dropping him. And that's what happens. Players hear me say I'm going to drop him, they're like, great, we're off Greg's team, let's fucking explode. Brandon Marshall. Even though Marshall didn't explode, he got 8 fucking receptions. He's giving, good fucking fuck you. All right. Ted Ginn Jr., fuck you. Snead is coming back, and I know everybody's grabbing Snead. He's already off the waiver wire in all 3 of the leagues that I'm in. But is he going to be that big legit too? Which he should be. But don't be surprised if it's this Coleman kid. If this Coleman kid remains, I see some chemistry developing there. And to be honest, Snead has been very hot and cold throughout his career. Brandon Coleman, I kind of like this kid. Let's look at his numbers. 2, then 16, then 7. So to me, this says that he is part of this team. He is starting to percolate. I think he may find a place for himself. Don't be surprised if Brandon Coleman remains pretty significant but Snead should be, a solid number 2 coming back. But we'll see. I'm not that sold yet. Dolphins versus Jets. Here's another one. Fuck you. Miami was 2 of the top 3 defenses in daily fantasy. Miami and the Ravens both fucking sucked a dick. Miami defense completely fell apart. The Jets put up 20 points on you. None of it went to Javon Curse, which if you're like me, I was one of those people that picked him up and played him because I felt like he was going to be the guy. Instead, this Ted Anderson, I don't know who the fuck Anderson, he ends up getting the fucking, who knows what's going on with the Jets. If you have Javon Curse, go ahead and play him again next week because who knows? It can't be Anderson. If it's Anderson now, maybe back to Curse. But the Dolphins, I was expecting Ajayi to fucking feast on that with Wilkerson out. Instead, they shut him down. And he got punched in the balls really, really hard very early in that game. And I really think that ruined his game. I mean, a ball punches, he couldn't collect himself. And then I think it affected him the whole fucking game. Oh, also, fuck you, Cutler, you fucking piece of shit. Get him the fuck out of there. By the second half, I was like, Henny. Oh my God, Cutler, you suck as bad today as you did last year. You should have gone to the booth and done the world a fucking favor. Jesus Christ. How about that TD takeaway from Golden Tate? If you're a Golden Tate owner and you were relying, and you needed that and you thought you'd won your game Monday night, or no, that was a Sunday night. But man, oh shit, they took that away from him. That was rough. Which, by the way, I know last year, what was it? Justin Tucker. I had Justin Tucker in a couple leagues, and he won me a couple games. And this year, that man is Prater. Prater in Detroit. 19 points he delivered off his foot. The week before, I lost my game because he hit that fucking 56-yarder or whatever that bounced into the fucking goal. This is a very good year to own Prater. This is his Justin Tucker year. Prater is going to finish the season the #1 kicker. And let me tell you something. A good kicker is a huge asset. A good kicker is a massive asset. And we're talking about, guys that really didn't deliver this week. The guy from New England didn't do much. I know I only got 4 points from the kicker out of the Raiders. I had Blair Walsh. He didn't do much. Kickers are very hard, but this Prater, Matt Prater, is the kicker to have this season. Oh, Minnesota versus Tampa Bay. Oh, this is another crazy fucking weekend. Up was down, left is right. Who knows what's going on? Minnesota, Chase Day, or who's that fucking quarterback? I don't even know. What's his name? I don't remember. This kid, Case Keenum. I called him Chase Daniel. Case Keenum. This kid, but you know, he's done this before. This is exactly what he did in Houston. Came in, had a monster game. Everybody was excited about him. Then the defense watched a little tape. And next week he stinks. So if Brad, listen, you know, you got to play your studs. At least he found his connection with Stephon Diggs, 2 touchdowns. But if you're like me, the second you heard Bradford wasn't going to play, you pulled Stephon Diggs and put in somebody else, and it wound up fucking. Well, luckily I won the game. But it was a lot closer than it would have been if I would have just played Stephon Diggs and in the other team Jordan Howard. But I still won both those games, which is a testament to having Tom Brady on your fucking team. So let's get to that. The Patriots, what a comeback. And I knew he was going to throw me one more touchdown. I was like, come on, Tommy, give me 5. I need 5. And in one league, he was good for 46 points. In my legal record, 59 points. But the other guy, he just couldn't overcome it. Even with Zeke putting up 20 points, he needed 25 to catch me. That's why I was so glad Zeke didn't score another touchdown, because if he had, I would have lost my game with a 59-point tandem fucking thing and Jordan Howard on the bench. But with him in there, I won by 10 points. So, Tommy, terrific boy. That's why I drafted him in 2 leagues, because the man gets it done. Deshaun Watson, listen, if he's on the waiver wire, somebody needs to pick him up and put him on your bench. You might be playing him by the end of the year with real consistency. Same with Tyrod Taylor, who seems to be putting up really consistent numbers, despite the fact that he's, doesn't have a name receiving core. He seems to be finding a way to get it done, including with his feet. All right. Oh, and look out for D'Onta Foreman. This is starting to percolate. He's starting to get more and more touches there in that Texas backfield. I think he's going to start taking it over. I like D'Onta Foreman. If he's on your waiver wire, somebody pick him up. Somebody put him on your bench. I think by the end of this season, he's going to be really doing some shit. Giants, Eagles, Ertz. Listen, count on Ertz. You know, what's his name? Didn't do great, but he still, Jeffrey still did some stuff. He got some stuff done. Aguilar didn't do anything. I said, after he had that one big game, I'm like, he's a guy of diminishing returns, and sure enough, he is. But I would like to offer a big fuck you to Brandon Marshall, you fucking piece of shit. Of course I let you go, so you go out and end up getting 7 receptions. Maybe 8, 7 or 8 receptions. Either way, it was a lot of receptions for a guy who's been absolute garbage through the first 2 weeks. But I said, 3rd time's the charm, but I really lost faith in him. I kept him in one team, dropped him in the other. Like I said, if I drop somebody, it means they're probably going to do pretty good that week. And sure enough, fucking Brandon Marshall gave you, 10.5 points. Redskins, Raiders, Kirk Cousins back on track. He's finally being Kirk Cousins. I didn't drop him as my backup quarterback. I'm glad I kept him. He's looking like Kirk Cousins again. And I'll tell you what, the guy that he seems to have a relationship is not, Terrell Pryor. I don't know if he's going to show up, but Jamison Crowder looks like he's doing okay. Kansas City versus the Chargers. Let's talk about that for a second. Kareem Hunt is this year's Devontae Freeman. Remember when Devontae or Jay Ajayi? Remember, it reminds me of Devontae Freeman. Because remember when Devontae Freeman took over in Atlanta, the guy couldn't be stopped. Kareem Hunt is that guy this season. It's going to be like that all season. If you got him, you're very excited. If you don't got him, you're upset that you passed on him in your draft. I know I did. I know that I am. But a big fuck you to Amari Cooper, you fucking dick. But thankfully, I don't own you this year. I passed on you. You know what, the last 2 seasons I had you, you're okay, hot and cold and everything, but boy, I remember the angst of owning you, of having you on my team, having to play you, not knowing what you were going to do. You watch, next week, he'll have a 2-touchdown game. Mark it down. Because that's who Amari Cooper is. That's the frustration of owning Amari Cooper. All the talent and just no consistency. Okay. Jared Cook looks great. You need to pick him up. Terrell Pryor, fuck you. On behalf of everyone that drafted you, I wanted to catch you, but I was like, I'm not seeing it. I'm just not, on paper it looks good, but I'm just not seeing it. And sure enough, fucking garbage time for Terrell Pryor. Boy, 3 lousy points, dude. You need to fucking step up. I thought game 3, remember I said third time's the charm. I thought you'd do it. You didn't do it. Tennessee Titans versus the Seahawks. Seahawks, I mean, you know, you score, but the defense is not the defense that I drafted them to be. The Titans absolutely, you know, but with the receivers, the Titans, you don't know who it's going to be, but Mariota has turned out to be pretty consistent. But I'd like to give a big fuck you to DeMarco Murray. All week long, they were saying, oh, you know, his hammy is a, you know, they're going to start featuring Derrick Henry a lot more. Reports from inside the Titans camp say Derrick Henry's in line. All the things, you know, he's the better fantasy play. Then I'm watching the game. And you hear the commentator going, oh, yeah, I spoke with Coach Malarkey, and he said, no, it's DeMarco Murray's team. It's DeMarco Murray's team for 2 years, for a whole, you know, for a whole season now, going into a second season. I've been waiting for Derrick Henry to get his shot. I believe this guy's a fucking beast, and he just can't get on the field. Fuck you, Titans. Fuck you, Malarkey. Trade this guy. Yeah, I know you're just holding him. I mean, it's a brilliant piece to hold. If DeMarco Murray goes down, you have this incredible guy to go right in behind him. If he can still play. Apparently he might have like hurt himself, you know, with some kind of a quad injury while getting Gatorade, I'm assuming. Packers, Cincinnati. Packers pulled it out in a nail biter, come from behind. I mean, listen, what's going on with this Packers defense? One week they look unbelievable. The next weekend they're letting Cincinnati run all the fuck over them. Although I say this, Cincinnati got a new offensive coordinator, and thank God, because he got Joe Mixon involved in the game. And so finally, I do like Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is mixing in real nice. So I do like Joe Mixon. No Martellus Bennett. Not happy about that. Fuck you. All right. Let's keep going. Cowboys, Cardinals, of course. Now, in this game, I think it's becoming apparent, and you know, I was worried about this. I went with Chris Johnson because I thought he might explode. Now, here's the thing. I am dropping Chris Johnson in at least one league, maybe both of them, but that I picked him up in. But I'll tell you this. You know, third time's the charm, and this week will be his third game actually in there. And this don't be surprised, especially if I'm dropping him, don't be surprised that this is the game that Chris Johnson finds his feet. But what it really, Andre Ellington seems to definitely be the better, more effective, best running back in that thing. They should stick with Andre Ellington. He catches the ball. He runs the ball. I like Andre Ellington, but this week will be very telling. This will be a very telling week. We shall see whether Chris Johnson gets on track or if he falls off and they end up just, at some point they brought in some other guy like Popeye Doyle or PC Penny or some other shit. Who knows what's going on. So now let's go to the Blutarsky of the week. Blutarsky of the week, Hunter Henry. This is a guy that everyone was expecting big things out of this season, and he delivered a 0.0. But, I mean, doing worse than him, the Ravens defense, -6, and the Seattle defense, -4. They did worse than a fucking Blutarsky. So, that being said, now, last week I had talked about third time's the charm, and I talked about players I expected to show up and players I expected to deflate. Let's see what I got right. Dalvin Cook, he showed up. Let's talk about guys I expected to show up. Dalvin Cook, yes. Larry Fitzgerald, I said it was time for Larry Fitzgerald to step up, and he did in a big fat fucking way. Larry Fitzgerald. Brandon Cooks, same deal. I said he was going to show up, he showed up. Michael Thomas, Christian McCaffrey. I said Cooper Kupp. I'm worried about Cooper Kupp. You know, I don't know, now that Sammy Watkins is involved, but don't drop Cooper Kupp because Sammy Watkins loves to get injured, as he was in concussion protocol at the end of that game, so don't go give it up. Tariq Cohen, yes and no. I mean, he did show up, even though, I mean, he's clearly not secondary back, which I'm totally fine with, but I mean, he still managed to turn up 12 points in fantasy, so that was great with the receptions. Martellus Bennett, I was expecting to show up. He really didn't. He was having a lot of trouble. Jared Cook, he did. I thought he would, and he did. Le'Veon Bell did. I figured he would really get on track, and he did. Derrick Henry, I thought would. Nope. That was a big miss. Swing and a miss. Missed on Martellus Bennett. Missed on Kelvin Benjamin because of injury. Missed on Derrick Henry. Missed on Kenny Golladay. Golladay, I don't know, he's disappearing really, really fast in that offense. And Terrell Pryor, I thought. Okay, so I said Terrell, this new kid, I don't know, it's driving me crazy. Brandon Marshall, unbelievable, but yes, he really did. Samaj Perine, not so much. I don't know. He didn't. I mean, they gave him plenty of runs, but he really didn't do much with it. He didn't do anything that made me think that Perine was going to be running for the rest of the season. Deshaun Jackson, he did show up for you, but it's dependent on whether or not there's a big time cover guy on Mike Evans. This time it was Xavier Rhodes, so Deshaun Jackson got some looks. But if it isn't someone of that caliber, then Josh Norman, somebody like that. Don't expect this out of Deshaun Jackson on a weekend. Brandon Marshall, I expected to deflate, but he actually kind of showed up. And Doug Baldwin, he was borderline. He could go either way, and he wound up exploding finally, getting all those receptions. So I was the only guys who really I was right about on the expected to deflate were Samaj Perine, and that's pretty much it. Everybody else actually showed me up on that list. Now, guys, I expected to explode. Derrick Henry, way wrong. I didn't read the stones wrong. I was going on the information I had. Everything said that, DeMarco Murray was going to do less. They were going to give Derrick Henry a shot, and that shit did not turn out to be true at all. I mean, not at all. Jordy Nelson, yep. Ajayi, nope. Got hit in the balls. Rams defense, no, not really. Ravens defense, absolutely not. They got butt fucked. McCaffrey, he did good, but he didn't explode. I said everyone in the Detroit-Atlanta game. That turned out to be true with the exception of Kenny Golladay. And Eric Ebron, he didn't do shit. Or Hooper, the tight ends. Besides from those guys, the running backs, the major receivers, the quarterbacks, all those guys did fucking great. The Patriots defense, I thought would explode versus Texas. No, but they still got 10 points. They got enough stacks done. Todd Gurley, yes. Tyreek Hill, yes. And Isaiah Crowell, I expect to do much better against Indianapolis. Indianapolis' defense turned out to play pretty hard this week against Cleveland, so that didn't quite go. Crabtree, nope. Did nothing, and everyone on the Steelers, no, not really, with the exception of Antonio Brown. Guys, I liked Buck Allen. Nope. Amir Abdullah. Yeah, he did all right. C.J. Anderson. Nope. I don't know. C.J. Anderson looked so good the first 2 weeks. Then this week he really was not good at all. And in fact, it left room for, what's his name? The old guy to come in and get a bunch of touches and do pretty well. So Jamal Charles. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. Then time to start kind of winking at Jamal Charles. Zeke Elliott, I liked because I didn't like him the week before. Sure enough, he got stonewalled, and then this week looked fantastic. So, yes to Zeke, I nailed that one. J.J. Nelson, I liked. Wrong. Because the Dallas defense wasn't playing that well, but that rush got a lot better. DeMarcus Lawrence is the difference maker. Him getting in there was fantastic. Miami defense, nope. Curse, nope. Witten, no. Gordon, yeah, he did pretty well. Kareem Hunt, I should have put him down to explode. He should just be on my all-time explode list with Tom Brady. He's going to explode. Emmanuel Sanders, in a tough game, I think did Denver lose? I think they did lose. But in a tough game, he still got you 7. He saw 15 targets. That's what you want to see. He caught 7 of them. Still gave you 11 points. Not great, but I like it. Travis Kelce, nope. Ingram, yes. Doyle versus Cleveland, no. But I did like T.Y. Hilton in a bounce back, and sure enough, boy, he lit it up. He looked great. Marshawn Lynch, no. But Diggs, I did like Diggs. Although I did say if Bradford plays, and then when he didn't, I took him out. But I did like him, and as it turns out, he turned out to be great. Guys I didn't like. Jameis Winston, sure enough, not a great game. I didn't like DeAndre Hopkins, but you know what? He still got 7 out of 8 targets for like 78 yards. So, I mean, so that's what you want to see. You want to see that even in adversity, he's going to give you some points. Carlos Hyde, I didn't like Carlos Hyde versus the LA defense. I was wrong about that. Demaryius Thomas, he turned out to be solid. Mariota, he's very solid. You got to just like him going forward. I thought this was the big test for Mariota against the Seattle defense, but they were not playing in Seattle. They were playing in Tennessee. That worked very well for them. I think it might be a different, but they were in Tennessee, and he wound up doing very, very well. Amari Cooper I didn't like, and sure enough, he stuck. Nailed that one. Mike Evans I didn't like, and I mean, he still was pretty good. 7 receptions, 67 yards. He gave you 10 points, which isn't what you expect from Mike Evans, but again, it shows that consistency that even against the top guy, he's still going to put up double-digit points. DeMarco Murray, boy, I was wrong about that. He had a huge game. Pierre Garçon, wrong. ODB, wrong. I thought Odell Beckham was still going to be more injured. He looks like totally fucking fine. And not only that, he is the whole offense because they have no run game. So it is ODB or someone just slightly to the side of ODB on every single play. Guys, I didn't want to touch any of the running backs out of Seattle, although now I think we could see, I mean, Carson, yeah, he didn't do great, but he gave you 10 points, which is all right, 11 rushes, 34 yards, but he caught a touchdown. So I think Carson now is a flex. Jimmy Graham, he finally got off. He picked it up, 7 receptions out of 11. But I mean, last week, 0.6. So there's some inconsistency there, but I think Graham now you can start putting back in. And I didn't like anybody in Giants versus Phillies, but you know what? It turned out to be a hell of a game and some real point scorers in there, particularly Carson Wentz. Guys, I wanted to wait and see about Deontay Foreman. Yeah, I think now's the time to pick him up. He's starting to get a real share of those carries down there in Houston, and I think he's a better part of this team than Lamar. I mean, he's just more explosive than Lamar Miller. Chris Thompson, boy, wait and see him fucking go off. I don't see Rob Kelly coming in and taking this job away from Chris Thompson. And I also don't think Samaj P. is going to take it away from him. He's definitely the most effective running back they've got. Although I think they just activated another running back. But I really like Chris Johnson here. Marquise Lee, I wanted to wait and see. And he looked, he had, 7 receptions, or he had 4 receptions out of 7 or something like that, 65 yards. So he did okay. He's doing all right. What did I say about Rashard Higgins? I said, you wait and see about this kid. He's a rookie on Cleveland. I don't know about that. Sure enough, he stunk. 2 receptions. He was terrible. Ertz, I wanted to see how he was going to do about the Giants with better defense. The guy's unbelievable. Stick with Ertz. Kamara, I wanted to see what's going on with Kamara, and, he only got 2 carries, but one of them was for a touchdown, which just says, it's going to be hard to predict this. That's still not what you want. You don't want to see 2 lousy carries and hope one of them's for a touchdown if you play him. So he's a tough play right now. And Sam Bradford, geez, we don't know what's happening there. Hopefully he's back this week. Maybe he's not. Who knows? So that's what happened. So now, finally, let's wrap it up. Let's bring it home with the guys to pick up off the waiver wire this week. Try and make a team better. It's not a lot. The Jacksonville defense, guys, you got to own them, and I'll tell you why. Because they have a really sweet run down the playoff stretch of the fantasy football. A lot of green. A lot of good teams to get a hard. They look great. Pick up that Jackson defense now. You don't got to play them right now, but you're going to play them down the stretch. Because other guys are going to want to stream them. You don't want to risk losing them. Take Jacksonville. Keep them on your bench. Play them in the last 4 games of the season. Blunt's been terrible this season, but he started to show up a little bit in that game between Philly and the Giants, and I thought they got away from him for some reason. Kept bringing in Smallwood and stuff, but now with Darren Sproles gone, LeGarrette Blount they may have to rely on him, and I think he looked better, but I still don't trust him. I still don't like fucking LeGarrette Blount. I don't fucking trust you, but he might be somebody to pick up if you need running power. Ellington, if you pick up Chris Johnson, if for some reason Ellington's still available in your league, pick up Ellington. Brandon Marshall, a lot of guys drop Brandon Marshall. If he's available, pick him up. He looks like he is finally finding that chemistry with Manning. Vernon Davis, Reed is going to be in and out all season. When he's out, Vernon Davis should have a good day. Devin Funchess, like I said, with Kelvin Benjamin now a bit hobbled. Olsen is out is on injured reserve. Devin Funchess is going to have to do something, and I think now's the time to pick up Devin Funchess. Sterling Shepard, I think, maybe more so than Brandon Marshall. Sterling Shepard, but he seems to be like big play dependent, like a Ted Ginn, whereas I think Brandon Marshall is just going to see more targets. But that's a coin flip. But one of them, you could probably grab one of them and consider him in a flex position. Pick up Tyrod Taylor, Deshaun Watson. These guys, they're going to be, I think Deshaun Watson's just going to get better and better and better. I'd be putting up points, looking like a Russell Wilson type guy. So you might want to go ahead and grab Deshaun Watson now. Snead, if he's out there. Do not pick up Geronimo Allison. I know he had a big game, but I'm not buying it. I don't see the consistency. I think that was just a matter of game flow. I don't think Geronimo Allison is anyone you can put on your team just yet. Duke Johnson, though, the guy's catching balls. I'd pick him up, see where he goes. It's tough to say with that guy, but if you need help, I think he could be a flex because of his PPR flexibility. And Charles Clay. Charles Clay is a guy that no one seems to believe in, but in terms of tight ends, he seems to be a consistent part of his offense. pick up Charles Clay if he's available in your league. I am Greg Romero Wilson. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. If you're looking for the audio version of this podcast, please check it out on SoundCloud. Fantasy Football, Harsh Reality. I'm your host. Tweet me your questions. Go Cowboys! Thank you and good night.